This podcast was sponsored by Happily Ever After Weddings and Events. Are you in need of a bridal assistant or wedding planner? They would love to help you with any coordination and planning needs. They are certified and insured. You can find them at www.thehappilyeverafterwedding.com. Hey, y'all, and welcome to Down Home Dirt, the show where we dive deep into the journey of entrepreneurship with the people who took the plunge into owning a small business and the ups and downs that come with it. I'm your host, Dusta, and today we are joined with Jeff Mauget, to say that correctly, with City Publications of Raleigh. Welcome, and thank you for coming out today.
Thank you so much. I'm serious when I say I love everything you're doing here. This is great.
I really appreciate the support. So tell us a little bit about your company.
So I run City Publications of Raleigh. We're a full stack marketing agency, but we do get the benefit of doing some things that really no one else does. And I like to focus on my in-market neighbors that are running in home services, professional services, child development, upscale boutique, things like that. So anybody that's after that consumer market is kind of where we have a specialty product that I talk a lot about.
Oh, I love that. I love marketing. Just a little fun fact. I did that for a little bit before I got to this point in my life. And I just did like mailers. So trying to help businesses grow with mailers.
Off-screen advertising is one of our specialties. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I see. I did not know that. We're going to learn so much today. Do you want to tell everybody?
I'm also curious about what you did. I'm really curious how you got to this point. So like one day you were doing mailers or marketing or something, and then you said, I'm going to be a podcaster. I want to hear that story if I can get it.
It's a great story. I'm actually waiting a couple episodes to do an interview for myself. But it started out, I have an entrepreneur spirit, and I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18, and that was a long time ago. And I had a cleaning business, and I was doing everything for it, and I loved it, but I learned, what not to do and what to do. And then I ended up having some children, so I was trying to figure out how to work from home and still be there for my kids. So I started a marketing company, Lateral Promotions, and we did marketing, postcards and mailers and stuff like that. This was for a company down in where I'm from in Sarasota, Florida. And I used to go on and get all the information, make the card and send them out. And I liked it, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So after that, I was like, you know what? I know the business. I know cleaning. So I started a cleaning company here in Clayton, North Carolina, about 4 years ago, literally a month before the shutdown and the pandemic. Probably the worst time to start a business. However, I was determined and my business flourished. And within 1 year of starting it, I was already hiring and I was experiencing all of these things that I'd never experienced before with my previous company. And so I got into podcasting because I found a lot of my own personal inspiration through listening to other people just talk in general, whether it be in-person networking or on a podcast. So I wanted to kind of take that information that we're sharing with each other and put it out there for more people to reach.
That is awesome. I love that the kids got your training wheels for a cleaning business. And and that everyone I talked to, almost, I think there's, with one or two exceptions, saw a huge boom in COVID. It's the strangest thing that we call it a shutdown, but all our small to mid-sized local businesses did great and just started taking chunks of market share away from the big boys. It's one of the greatest success stories I've been able to witness of my lifetime. So thank you for joining us in the market.
Yes, that was something I kind of felt like I didn't have a choice, to be honest with. I did have a job when this started, and I was working at Walmart when the pandemic started, and I was like, this is crazy, the people doing grocery pickup and it just being unsafe and everything. And I thought, I'm not really helping. So how can I help? And that's kind of where the Other Mother got started. Is we wanted to go into your home where you're learning, you're working, you're literally doing everything. So we became like Alice from the Brady Bunch, right? Everything but the childcare.
That's awesome.
And making sure that people's homes were safe and that they took that stress load off of them. So it was a very big jump, I'm going to be honest with you, and something that I've realized in life and in entrepreneurship is risk taking. I'm a very big risk taker. So I jumped in with all feet, didn't even think about it, just did it.
I love it. When you don't know how to take the first step, you don't need to know. Just take it and figure it out, because chances are you're smart and you're talented, which is why you're in that position to begin with, to consider a risk. And the way you jumped in with both feet, I have the utmost admiration and respect for. So congratulations for doing that. And it feels like
Thank
when you
you.
tell the story, it was meaningful and that it kind of had an impact lasting on your life.
It did. And it was something that also gave me confidence because I had been the stay at home mom for 5 years. And like when you become a stay at home mom, sometimes you feel like you lose your entire self and you don't have any identity outside of these are my children and this is what I do. And I was like, no. So I did it as a way to help people to get myself back. It was a lot. And I've noticed a lot in my journey of being an entrepreneur is that I'm healing a lot of, past things through being an entrepreneur because I get to hear other people's stories and I'm like, okay, I'm not alone in this. So that's
Yeah,
like the whole thing for me.
it's one of the most rewarding pieces of what we get to do as small business owners in a market where we work with other business owners, is to learn those stories and get everybody's different take and approach and wisdoms from maybe a similar experience. It's the most rewarding part of what I do. So I like that we're fellow soldiers in that perspective.
True. So you have your own business, and you have been in business for how long?
So City Publications has been around for 30 years. I took this market over mid last year, and I am building, 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 ramping, ramping.
That's amazing. So like what was your ready moment for you to like jump into entrepreneurship?
So I've got a long history in and out of ownership, kind of like you. Like since my teens, I started. I started early in graphic design. I think I had the second version of Photoshop when I saw them paint the wires out of Superman in like 1982. I said, I want that. And my dad, who is the smartest guy I know, is a super nerd that brought our whole family to the Triangle back in the 70s. So I've been doing on screen digital art, design, branding, product. Um, in my 20s, I ran a company that fulfilled Fortune 500 company stores. This is before WordPress and everything. It was it, the dinosaur ages of e-commerce. So I learned a lot doing all that and how these bigger companies spend their budgets in marketing and branding. And then the '08 crash came and all those companies pulled their promotional money back. So I got out of that local business and I thought it was time to go do something else. And I got into the home services field. And that's where I started blending all these things together. Everything I learned in product design and marketing, I took into my colleague's business. They were going a home service business, and we we grew that thing exponentially. I think when I got there, we were in 2 or 3 states, and then after we were doing the same thing you're doing and the same thing all of our neighbors are doing and everyone else you're talking to, we got into something like 20 states with 300 technicians going into about 1,800 homes every day. And that ride was insane. Our hair was on fire. We were making it up as we go and doing different experiments. So I took what I knew and just balled that up and threw it away and relearned everything in the new context of home services and everything else. And it's really helped me make an impact with City Publications, because one of our primary categories of clients is premium home services and those higher ticket spaces. So I get the opportunity to relate big time when I meet an entrepreneur that's running a couple crews, building decks or something. I, I, if I haven't felt his pain, I felt something very close to it, and we get to relate a lot and just talk business. And that's when I go into consultation mode and tell him about some of my experiences, and they can tell me about theirs and see what kind of crossover there is. That's really the best part about City Publications for me, is meeting all these different types of businesses and seeing how they approach the Rubik's cube. I like to figure out the puzzle. I don't know if that
That's
answered your
amazing.
question, but that was a long answer.
We like long answers here. The more information, the better. It's kind of like what the whole premise of this is: as much information as you can squeeze into this podcast. So let's take it back a little bit. Like, where are you from? Like, where'd you grow up?
So, mom and dad, California, got older sisters and brothers. I was the youngest. Brought us here in the IBM heyday. My dad's an old IBMer. Brought us from basically the Silicon Valley all the way here to the Research Triangle Park. I grew up going to family days out there. It was a different world. Yeah, I got to watch the Triangle go from one or two big buildings to what it is now. It's completely packed, and now we've got a Top Golf out there. It keeps going and going and going. So I've been here for that the whole time. I've been a Raleigh local since 1978. And then what was
Wow,
the
I
other?
have been here since. Let's see, I went to college in 2015. Wow, I had to think about it. That's bad.
No,
So
welcome, welcome to middle age.
yeah, it's like, how long ago was that? Okay. No, I came here in 20 originally it was like 2014 because I wanted to go to college at Wake Tech and kind of transfer because where I'm from in Sarasota they didn't have what I wanted to do. And so I was like, cool, I'll just like move to North Carolina. Mostly because I think it's beautiful, but also because of the program of study. And I do not do what I went to school for. I went to school to be a medical coder and biller. And I did that. I got the certificate. I got the job. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm over it.
two
So,
weeks,
yep.
2 weeks, and you had the courage to say, "Screw this, I'm out." Is that what happened? You
Yeah.
are
I was,
you're a beast. We haven't seen anything from you yet. If you can make decisions like that and turn on a dime, you're gonna do something amazing. You're gonna keep doing what you're doing. I know. I can tell.
well, thank
Um,
you. I really
your
appreciate that.
your
That's
character is what we need more of around here. I'm serious.
like, very much a risk taker. Like I said in the beginning, I just see something and I want to do it. This podcast actually is something I kind of started over a year ago because I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't know exactly what direction to take it in. And at first I thought, oh, I'll just tell like stories from my experiences in housekeeping and in being an entrepreneur, right? And then I thought, nobody wants to constantly just listen to me tell them stories, especially without context. So I sat on it and I sat on it and I did some more research and I was like, you know what is something that I need to do is share entrepreneurial experiences and connect with others because one thing I feel like is completely alone when I'm doing this whole entrepreneur thing. I have a business partner, but I don't have a like business partner that she's my daughter. And she has been my partner since she was 14. She has helped
So
me grow
she's
this
really the
entire
boss,
operation.
though. She's the
Yes.
boss. Yes.
Exactly. And a lot of people, when they meet her, they like, she's a kid. I'm like, she is a kid, but you don't seem to understand. This girl was, she's amazing. She was an entrepreneur at 10 years old. She was in school, and this is back during the slime craze. And she's over there selling slime hand over fist. And people come up to her, I got $5. How much can I get? And I'm just like,
That is
okay.
awesome.
So I feel like it runs in the family. My mother was also an entrepreneur. She's been a lot of things. She cleaned houses most of my life. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration from to do it myself because it's something I grew up in and I've seen. And so when I was
Yeah.
18, I actually started working with my mother, which is where we learned what to do and what not to do. And then right at the housing market crash, unfortunately, we had to dissolve our business and I had to go back to working at Pizza Hut. So then when I decided to pick it up again, I was like, all right, well, we're not going to let that happen again.
So you're agile, strategic, nimble, and you've always got something on the back burner that you grab.
Constantly. I'm not sure if that's like hurting or helping, but I feel like it's helping because if I can adapt easily to anything, I'll do it.
Now, with what you're doing, like, do you go to networking events?
So I used to network a lot. However, in the last 2 years, I have been unable to keep up with the amount of referrals that I got. So I had to stop. But I do still nourish those relationships because that's actually something that I do talk about a lot in the podcast is networking and how important it is for not only for your personal self, but your business, personal, everything.
And I
So,
meant for the podcast. Like you walk into any networking event and say, there won't be another podcaster there, and just say, I'm looking for interesting stories to tell on my podcast. There will be a line. Just that would end the meeting and everybody would just line up to talk to you. That's what they're there to do. They're there to share stories and make new connections. And you're in the hot seat for that. This is very smart.
well, I appreciate that because, like I said, I'm still new at this and I am not sure which way it's going to go, but I feel like we're forming a direction, if that makes sense.
Nowhere
Like,
but up. Nowhere but up.
exactly. And so I'm really glad that you came on today. I wanted to ask you like about where you see yourself in the future. I know you've been here for 30 years in the industry. Sorry, my phone is going off. Part of being an entrepreneur, I will turn it off.
That's all right. So similar to you, like there's nowhere to go but up. My journey went from freelance graphic designer as a kid to a small business owner and multiple times building this monster service company that I just did for the last 16 years, and now I'm building City Pub Raleigh. So I know for in the immediate, it's this. I'm all in. We're building this. I'm making great connections, and I work with a wonderful group of clients, and I just want that to keep growing. I have ways to expand in market at least 3 or 4 times and introduce a whole slew of other products we haven't even gotten to yet that are just new, cutting edge, and really interesting. And I'm really excited to share them. But most everything I do is like a group trip, right? So it's a little bit. So I've got to develop these groups. So as I develop them, we'll launch new things. And for the immediate, to answer your question, I'm in, 5 years and less thinking right now. Um, Other than that, I'm like you. I want to start bringing my kids into the fold. I have a high school son. My oldest son, he's got a younger brother, but he's busy, and so he's kind of following the path that you described earlier. You were involved and you did different things, and he's you know, involved in 5 or 6 different things. And if I wanted to bring him in, I'd have to compete for his time at this point, which is perfect. I need him learning all these different lessons. I want him getting all the different experiences he can. So he's actually contributing and advising me, like your daughter, like your daughter is the boss. I can see this for him too. So that would be like the dream that I get to work with my favorite student. You know, and then his little brother comes online a few years after that. But I'm, in terms of parenthood, I would push them to just learn and see everything. And so any experience with me I would offer would be the same way. But that would be the ultimate dad dream, for that. As far as Raleigh, I see no plans. I don't see a greater market. I still say this is the greatest market in the world to run a business in. Every time I turn around, there's a whole new type of business going, or a whole new group, a whole new networking event. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I think COVID helped speed it up. I don't think it caused it. I don't think it changed it. I just, for everything else, when we went through that transition as North American society or whatever, I just think everything sped up. I don't think anything really altered course that it was already on. I think small to mid is the future, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm in it, and I want to stay there. Definitely.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off the networking, like it became very important, specifically, where well, I wasn't anywhere else, but specifically here in my small town, whenever the pandemic hit, to have word of mouth and to have referrals. So networking, just it was the only way to really get business back then because you couldn't really go outside. And Facebook became one of my biggest referral partners. So everyone
Yeah.
was on there looking. I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but I was also going to ask if you could share a little bit about your experience in networking, since 2020.
So it's new to me because of the corporate stint I just transitioned out of. We had like five enterprise clients. We had one or two suppliers. All the contact we had was primarily internal. So we're traveling and going to other markets and meeting with each other. So when I transition out of that slowly last year, I'm looking at corporate things. I start networking with executives and chiefs and local companies trying to scale. And I start figuring out maybe I want to get out of corporate world because I was enjoying my network meetings and my 101s more with hyper local, more small to mid-sized owners. You know, even if their revenue is big, they were still running a small operation, and I like that because it's just a couple people involved on that Rubik's cube I keep talking about. Which way are we rotating next? What's the next evolution of our challenges? And that led me to City Publications because, like you, it's in the middle of all these local owners and entrepreneurs. And I get every week, I talk to 10, 20 different entrepreneurs, um, and they all have a similar theme, but every single one of them has a different story and a different set of challenges. And that's really why I'm in this business. I don't know
That's
if that answers
amazing.
your
Yeah.
question.
But yes. I was always curious about how one goes about networking because the only
Oh yeah.
way that I
Yeah,
know about
so
is
yeah,
like through.
it's newer, and that's what I was trying to say. Sorry, the networking brought me here, so I've had nothing but positive experiences with it, and at this point, I'm like you, I'm struggling to keep up with all of the networking I want to do because we get busy in our day to day, we get busy in our core services, and I'm going, oh, and I have a whole separate calendar of networking events I try to keep up with. So don't stop trying new things. Find, that would be my advice. Go to mixers, go to the structure where everybody says their little 30-second commercial. Go to ones that promote the one-on-ones more. One-on-ones to me are invaluable. I learned so much about different businesses just doing one-on-ones. Like I'm learning about your podcast, and to me it's the same thing. A one-on-one goes a lot like our conversation is today. We share
It
something about
does.
you, we relate, and we share back. And hey, maybe you could talk to these people, and it's not a selfish approach. And when everybody's in the room is acting sort of selflessly like that, it's so positive, and there can be nothing but a good return out of that type of thing. So if anybody hasn't networked or they're reluctant or they don't like it, just do it. There's 100 different ways to do it, and there's any one of us on your podcast would send out offers or invites. I'm constantly sending my clients, hey, did you hear about this thing over there? I'm going to check it out. And that's just really all it is. It's just helping your neighbors make more connections.
Which is fabulous. That's something that I love, especially with this podcast. I love doing one-on-ones. When I get into a room, I have like the worst anxiety because I have to stand up in front of everyone and tell them all about me, right? And I have to make the greatest impression, and I can't do that. But if I'm one-on-one, it flows. It's great. Like I can ask my questions, things like that. So
Yeah, I'm
definitely worth
drawn to the mixers too myself. I like that informal. I like the more informal conversations, but you have no reason to be nervous. You're great. You're fantastic. And everybody is going to be interested in what you're doing
Well,
every time.
thank you. I
Just,
appreciate that. I've always used my announcer voice. That's like my trademark here. So there's a little secret, guys. It turn anybody into a friend. So that's my little tidbit. So speaking of networking and everything, how do you measure success whenever it comes to your clientele? So obviously they're going to ask you what you can do for them, and then what would your response be for the measurement of success?
so normally the answer of what you can do for somebody is, well, I don't know, maybe nothing. I need to learn, I need to understand your unique situation and your unique problems. And then we can look at all of the tools in the toolbox. And that's the same. That's the same with any home service or professional, you ask a banker, what can you do for me? And they're going to say the same thing. Well, let's look at what your challenges are and see what we do and see if our goals align. So that's a generic answer, but it is the most truthful one. You gotta take the time to listen to your clients and understand if your solution aligns with their goals and the path they're on. It's the same. It's the same with anything. I had 15 years, just as an example, not as a long aside. 15 years recruiting. It's the same thing I try to tell people when they're trying to find alignment on a relationship, and that's what client marketing to a client is. It's a relationship. So just because you have a common point today, meaning you have a candidate in front of you that wants to work with you, like a sales guy and a client, doesn't mean you're coming from a similar path and you're on the same trajectory in the future to be on the same path. So you want to get at least 3 data points. Where are you coming from? Where are you today? And where are you going to be tomorrow? And do our goals, whatever they are, align for an amount of time that makes sense to to deepen the relationship. And I think that's the same for almost anything in business or life or anywhere else. Because somebody could be downsizing and meet me in a common point, and I'm trying to help them go the other way. And that's a totally different plan and project and in consultation. So it really is the truth in any line of work. And what was the second part of that question?
Well, I just wanted to know how you measure success. For example, in my business, I measure success based on how many clients I retain instead of how many clients I gain. And I would assume it would be different in your business.
No, it's absolutely the same. Retention. So it's a relationship, and if your solution is aligned with challenges, and they're hanging out, a we've either got new challenges to work on. Let's look at new solutions. B, it's working. Let's stay on this track. C, there's new things coming up. So that means the relationship is working and it's mutually beneficial. So I think most companies would be the same if they're in a recurring revenue space. Now there's plenty of categories out there that are purely transactional, so it's kind of a one and done, and they would probably be measuring on a different level. Did they get that 5-star review? Did they get a referral? Anything that feels like a recurring bit of revenue coming off that single transaction.
That's
But
true. I think about it like this. I have a friend who owns a painting company, and obviously they're not going to have, residual clients. So they're based on like revenue as their success. And I'm like, okay, so it took me kind of knowing that to go, oh, there's different levels of it, and it's all customized to your company and like what you do. And
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
wow,
and
that's
like
really like,
what is the painting focus, and if you sign on with a property maintenance company, that's a big that's recurring revenue. Now if you develop these different types of relationships in your industry, it can
oh,
change everything and about how you view success too. Yeah, so everything's moving, and so that's what I mean. Where were we last year? Where are we this year? Where are we going to be next year? It's all it all goes to how can we help each other. You kind of need those 3 data points.
I'm taking notes because again, this is about learning for me too. Because like I said, I only know my service based industry. I don't really know any other. I mean, not yet, but I will.
You're going to be an expert. What you're doing is a front row seat in how success is forged on every
True.
level from every different perspective. Your level of knowledge in all these different areas is going to be priceless, if not already.
Right. And that's one thing I always like to preach. Nobody can take away the things that you know. Like, they can take away your business or they can take away something, but not what you know. So always make sure we're learning is a big
Well, if
thing.
somebody comes try to take your business, you call me. I'll stop them. I'll get in. I'll stand in front of them.
True. True. I didn't think about that. So what advice was like most impactful for you? And what advice would you give someone wanting to start a business?
The advice goes to one of your recent questions. We manage what we measure. So, whatever that means, you can translate that into anything. And then the second piece of advice that's been wonderful to fold into my life and my day and my routine is you set the tone for the day you want. And what that meant to me, and that what that meant to me as I translate is I spend 9 out of 10 days I spend in a part of my yard where I'm going to see the sun first. So I wait for the sun almost 7 days a week. It just depends if it's raining or something. But I set the tone. And while I'm doing that, I am writing down my intentions for the day. You can call it meditation or whatever, but normally I'm just sitting there drinking coffee. Maybe I'm reading a book. Maybe I'm talking to a friend that just moved to Florida and we're watching the sunrise together. But I set the tone. The day waits for me, um, or I wait for the day if you want to phrase it that way. But I hit it first, and then I go over my notes on what I want to accomplish because that gives me something to measure later. So in one action, I'm doing the two best pieces of clarity or advice that I've been able to work into my daily life is you're gonna manage what you measure. So measure what you want to manage, and then two, set the tone for your day. So
I
I
like
try
that.
to I
Take
try
charge of
to
the day.
combine. Yeah, I try to combine both of those into my morning routine, and it's been great. It's been positive. It's absolutely
Sounds like you
so.
have a really good mindset when it comes to like being an entrepreneur, but in general in life. And that's something that I feel is a very big part of being an entrepreneur is having that mindset of I'm in control of my day. I'm going to make sure these things happen. And I'm not a type A person. Okay. I'm just not. That's my daughter. So I let her set the tone for the day. But it sounds like I need to start setting it for myself because I am not doing that. And that's great that you do that. So that's what I was going to ask you. What is like a life? What is a day in the life of Jeff? Like what? Like you wake up, and are you straight business, or do you give yourself obviously that time
No,
to get
sometimes it's
yourself?
90 minutes, 2 hours before my first sitting down and touching work. Now I'm thinking about it or planning it, but I don't clock in for at least 90 minutes to 2 hours. So sometimes I'm up at 4 a.m. if I need to get going early, and I might be meeting a client 90 minutes from here at 7 in the morning because when you're in home services, people are doing their admin before it's time to hit the road and stuff. And if I'm part of that admin for that day, I'm going to be there. And I get it. So it's all I do. So my day can start at 4 a.m. I could be in Fuquay in the morning time meeting a client, and then I could be over in Durham or Chapel Hill or some other distant piece of the Triangle Market. A lot of times I'm at home at the desk. My wife and kids make fun of me if I'm on the phone. I'll pace. I'll start walking around the neighborhood. I'll just walk out the door while I'm talking to somebody. I talked to an interesting guy this morning. He restores cabinets and does these huge kitchen projects. And he's like my age, and he's been in business a while. And we were just talking about a day in the life, and we were talking about our entrepreneurial journey. And I must have got in 15,000 steps on that conversation. So
That's
my
a good
day
work
is
life.
this: enjoying conversations like this with new people and new connections. And I'm lucky. Every day is a gift.
It is. And that's great. I love that you like to connect with people. That's actually something that was pointed out to me is that I can't talk to someone unless I can connect with them. And I will give them, several olive branches to connect. And then if I can't, it's difficult. So sometimes I can't do business with them because I'm like, I know you want me as a service, but I can't connect with you as a person. It's hard.
Sales resistance. Yeah. You're
Any advice on
attentive.
that?
Well, no, just keep studying, keep doing what you're doing. So everybody's got a different take, but there's pros out there and you can study, but you're personable and
Thank
you
you.
are who you are and you can read other people. And I just think you have all the right building blocks to continue on your path because you are rising. So to advise you to stop and change and do something else would be detrimental to who you are and what you're trying to do. But yeah, if you wanted to get into the science, you can study how to lower sales resistance. It's really you. You probably trigger very little sales resistance because you're personable and you're nice and you're outgoing and real and respectful and authentic. Sales resistance tends to go up when people think you're playing a role or something like that, and you're not being yourself. You're being the sales guy, or you're being the person that wants something from them. If I do it wrong, people just see a guy that wants to get in their wallet, and and so
Yeah.
so if you're 90% of the time not triggering sales resistance, you're crushing it. You're crushing it.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like really made my business grow, is the fact that I do all of my own sales calls. And when I go in, I'm very passionate about it. I have OCD, and a lot of people know that. So you're going to get a certain type of
In the
cleaning from
cleaning
me.
business, come on, no.
Listen, I have seen some people who don't do the level of work that I do. And I'm like, oh, am I crazy? No, it's just that I do have diagnosed OCD. So the level that I bring to any home is going to be astronomical in comparison to somebody who isn't like me. And I understand that, which is kind of what makes it hard to hire. But when I go in to do my estimates, sorry, my brain just totally stopped for a second. I go in and I have the same level of enthusiasm as when I clean. And I feel like having that energy in their home is also a reason why they always want to hire me. Because nobody wants somebody to go in and be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll get it done. They want, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to deep clean your house. We're going to keep it at that level and we're going to maintain it. So you don't have to pay for 2 deep cleans a year. You just get one and we move forward, and it stays that way. And it's
And
probably the announcer voice.
the announcer voice. And without even knowing or seeing it firsthand myself, I know that you care about what you're doing, which means your customers feel that. Even if they come home and they weren't there and they didn't see anything you did or whatever, when they come home, I know without having ever experienced it firsthand, they can feel the difference because you care.
This is
That
true.
is what makes people successful, in my humble opinion. If they
Agreed.
can
That's why
tell,
I measure my success by doing the how many clients I can retain, because I want to connect with you. I want to make you happy, and I want to keep you, where you need to be, because it does something for me, both, mental health wise and, business. It's 2 things for me, which
wise,
I know we
you're,
shouldn't get too personal in our businesses. And I realize that, but it's your passion. It's like hard to not do that.
yeah, it can be hard to separate your identity from what you've chosen to throw all of yourself on the line to do. Like I do talk about this sometimes with clients. You're brave. You're like, it's a slim chunk of society that does take everything you know and all of your expertise and throw it out there in public, in a networking meeting, second mortgage the house, buy the business, whatever it is. You throw all of that on the line to be like, I'm going to do this on my own. And that just whoever you are up here with me when you make that decision. Because I see it. I see it. There's people out there that don't get it. You're going to have clients that don't recognize that's what you've done and that's what you're going through. But the smart ones, the ones that can see it, they're going to know you're that kind of person, and you're going to retain those people every time.
That's true. Some of my long-term clients have become closer to me, like as friends than as clients, and they support me in any adventure I want to do. And that feeling is great, because I go in their house and I'm like, I'm going to clean your toilet, but I'm going to tell you about this thing that I'm doing next. And they get really excited.
Your best
I know, right?
networking referral ever. Yeah,
It's true. And a lot of, so I don't pay for advertising. I never have. And I attribute that to networking, but also to
absolutely.
word of mouth, because I'm just who I am, and I go out there and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And we show up, we're on time. We
Well, I
don't
would
have any.
definitely say that you're investing in it by running the way you run. It's an investment because it's coming back to you. You know.
Yes, and that's
Definitely.
not to say that nobody should pay for advertising. I'm just a small town girl with a small business. So to me, this is what works for me. That's why we're doing this podcast, because I want to know what works for other people, because I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I've exhausted everything. What else is there? What other options are there?
Oh,
So,
every day is a gift and a new day. So,
right. It is. I wake up and
yep.
I'm
And the
very
more,
happy.
yeah, the more folks you meet, the broader your perspective's going to get. This is exciting to watch. I'm going to keep following the podcast. This
Well,
is very cool.
I
I love
appreciate
what
that.
you're doing.
I'm looking to grow. That's like one of the things that, as a person, this is very healing for me, mental health wise. As you know, I was in burnout, a few months ago. I didn't really tell anyone that, but just constantly business, business, business. And I was like not doing anything for myself, and it kind of affected my health. It was a whole bad situation. And then that's when the whole thing took form. And I was like, you know what? There are other people out there feeling this, and I want to know how they're handling it. So, how do you handle burnout?
So that if you were just making me think earlier when you asked the smartest, what the advice or whatever we'd been given,
Hmm.
manage to your energy level. And I think that's why people go after jobs where they can say, I want to work from home or whatever. It's not necessarily that maybe you want to work from home. You want to manage your own time. Even if you're the type of person that works 24 hours a day, you want to be the person that makes that choice to do that. Um, and so, and all of those preferences about independence and time and self managing and making those decisions, I think they all roll up into this idea of working to your energy level. And if you don't work to your energy level, you will burn out because you're going to work past it. And that's when you can't make decisions. You can't think. The things that were easy, were automatic, don't come to you. So at my age, to handle burnout, I see it coming and I don't let it happen anymore. But, in my 20s and my 30s, burnout handles you. I mean,
Yes.
I've done the 100-hour week. I worked 48 hours on my feet, excuse me, 46 hours on my feet. And it was back when we were manufacturing products in that marketing business. And we got this big rush order. It was a long week before then, and then we decided we're gonna manufacture 10,000 pieces in 2 days and deliver them in Charlotte. And 48 hours on my feet, the machine would stop for a cleaning or a maintenance or thing, and I would sleep right there on my feet for 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'd turn the machines back on and keep going. Not at this age, no way. I'm going to
Yeah.
plan better. I'm going to use systems and strategies to still do that job and deliver it on time without killing myself, because that ruined the next week of business, you know, damaging our mental ability to continue making money the following day or week. It's just not wise. So the better thing to do is to have people around you in strategies, and like you with the daughter, all of these things are going to keep growing, right? And I
Mhm.
think that burnout is just something young people are going to learn to avoid at some point, because nobody can do it forever. That's
No,
my take
that's
on it. As an old
that's a big
guy, you
thing
just
too.
learn to not do it.
Yes, and that's a big thing. I feel like something I didn't know going into this is the burnout. And so I didn't exactly have the greatest support system. So I wanted to ask you, what was your support system like starting this entire business, even when you were younger and today? And who was your biggest supporter, and how has having that helped you achieve your success?
Every time, my immediate family, every time. And that's, when I see clients or anyone advertise family owned, and I go on their About Us on their website and I see the family, I completely relate to that. My family every time. So when I was young and I bought machines and started this, I had 12 employees, and we were printing products and designing things for half the companies in the triangle at the time. My mom was there, my dad was there, my brother-in-law was there. Everybody showed up to help. When we relocated and grew and we would open a new division and we needed 2,000 more feet of warehouse or something, all my lifelong friends, because I'm a Raleigh local, since they would show up. They're, I'd throw them on a forklift and we'd go break stuff moving it. But it was always family every time. And now it's my wife and my kids. They heard me in here in a meeting and they come close the door because my 10-year-old enjoying his last moments of summer is probably on the Oculus in the other room yelling at his friend in Massachusetts or something, and they get it. And they like to go with me out into the field. So I love the support, and I don't even think of it as support. I just think of it as we're in this together and let's go. Let's hard charge this.
See, that's great. I love that. I have the support of my daughter, and I have a younger daughter. She's about to be 9 in October. So there's not a whole lot she can really do, but I have 3 children total. So my 2 older ones always helped with everything. They fold the rags. They're going to wash them. Like, they're going to make sure that I have what I need chemical wise. Like, okay, you need to order this, and I feel like that's also good that your family is supporting you, because you're giving them the opportunity to get an education and owning a business, so that if they decide to either own one or work for someone else, they understand the entire full circle of it. And that's
Yeah,
something that I feel like just going to school and getting a job, you don't see.
yeah, and they're problem solving when they're helping you. They're not just they're getting to see you as an owner and how you work strategies and deal with that model, let's say. But you've involved them in the problem solving too. It's not a meager little admin task for them to contribute. That's a big deal. I did not glaze over that. That's a big deal that they're helping you run this. You dismiss it. Oh, I need to buy some supply or something. No, that's huge. Their brains have the Rubik's cube and they're working on it with you, and that will make them invaluable in the future to you or any other business leader or owner. Because they've got experience from this age in just mentally approaching that. We all know those people that don't even pick up the Rubik's Cube. They're probably in a cubicle and they're never late, maybe, but they don't help the big goal and they don't help anybody get there. They just kind of want to show up and do what they're supposed to do and maybe go home and disappear. That's not entrepreneurs. So
No, and that's something else I like to highlight, is the fact that, like, we do technically work 24/7, even, when we're not with a client. We're still, there's all this, back things, admin, advertising, networking, everything that goes into it is not just a 9 to 5.
yeah,
And I
and
feel like,
hopefully we love some of it. You don't. We're not going to love all of it, but a lot of it we get this this dopamine hit on, and we get a little excited, and we look forward to certain things, and yeah, let me do this stuff I don't like to do so I can get to the good stuff. Yeah, yeah, a lot. So many people don't get to see that in a basic career. So
no,
it
that's
is.
absolutely true.
Yeah, it's a
And
different
that's part of
personality.
the Yeah, that's part of the education. So I homeschool my older 2 children. My son, he'll be 19, so he's out of the house and graduated. But my daughter, she's been homeschooled since she was 14, and I felt like I was giving her the opportunity to learn her basics, right? But also see into a different world of how to manage your time, how to advertise, things that they don't obviously teach in regular high school courses. So I thought, hey, let's give her a firsthand knowledge, and that has been such a blessing to her. She actually is wanting to be her own boss and her own entrepreneur thing now, and I'm so excited about it. I'm sorry, I'm just really excited because she's basically told me that I don't think I could work for anyone else, and then she would give me the reasons why. I can't control my time, I'm not going to make enough money, I don't want to have to deal with X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, my heart. Like, I'm so happy for her. But
but
if my parents had nurtured my entrepreneur spirit when I was a kid, I think that I would have been a lot further ahead. So I'm trying to take that in mind and show her that, yes, go to school, but also there's other options.
Yeah, and you know what? Nobody can stop you. Maybe they did the right thing by not nurturing you. Maybe they held you back just the right amount because you could have burned yourself out into oblivion. Maybe you're unstoppable. And I wanted to point out that the homeschooling. whatever it is, but she got to see a different way. It doesn't even matter what it was. She got to experience that a different way than other people. So she'll always have a perspective that maybe, not 90% people have, or whatever the number is now. But she learned that there's more than one way to skin a cat, for lack of a better phrase. But and this will serve her well, time and time again, just knowing there's always a different perspective. Even if I haven't seen it, there's going to be a different perspective and a different way to do something. And you that's like one of those invisible benefits. It's hidden until it starts paying off. And she's already come to you and said, I want to manage this. I want to do this my own way, because now she's seen you guys can manage her education your own way. So why not tackle everything else in that same spirit? You got a monster on your hands.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm a little scared. I'm going to be honest. She just got accepted into college, so she's starting in August. And my dad always told me, like, hey, like, you should go to college and get a job and do all that fun stuff, conform to society. But he also said that even if you just go to school and get your 2-year degree, it will change the way you look at the world. And he wasn't wrong. So I went and I did that. And that's what I'm encouraging her to do. And also give her some of the basics, bookkeeping, accounting, all of the things that you need, that you take, so that when she does start her own business, at least she has that. She's not, starting from scratch, essentially. And I feel like it's such a good example for other young people to, hey, the path of everyone else wasn't for us, but there are other options. You can homeschool, you can teach them the entrepreneur. And it's important too for me, because when the pandemic situation happened and everything was shut down, my immediate thought, because I'm an entrepreneur, was, well, why don't we just network amongst each other? Why don't we just start our own businesses and take care of our own stuff without this big box, crap that's shut down? And so I was like, that's probably not what everyone else thinks. But I wanted my child to be able to understand that if she is faced with something in this situation in the future and I'm not here, she knows what to do. She can start a business and she can still make her bills. Because that was the
Self-reliance.
biggest fear.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. My son's first job started. He's a dishwasher. So, but he comes home and he talks. He's watching the owner run this restaurant. He's like, all right, today I saw he's got manager problems. Some kid called out and blah 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 blah. He's learning how how the model runs in from the inside. I don't think he wants to start a career as a dishwasher. So, but I think, you know, similar similar learning curves, that when he's bored with this, he's going to go somewhere else and then learn what he can learn from there. And the way you were talking about your daughter made me think of all that, and exposing them to some self-reliance and watching them then go apply it. That's priceless as mom and dad. Watching them apply it, at least in spirit, and how they want to approach the next thing. She's going to go to college to a 2-year degree, but she's already thinking, maybe I don't want to work for someone else. Maybe I want to do this and that. And this, what you're fostering, is brilliant, and I love it. And I see similarities here in my own family with my kids. One, I raised my kid just whatever I had at disposal. One day I came home and I took a sledgehammer to the top step in the house because there was nothing to fix. So I broke something, and I was like, well, go in the garage and get the tools and help me figure out how we're going to fix this. And then we refloored the upstairs hallway and put in 6 transitions. But he got to see that when something's broken and you don't know how to fix it, similar way, he could be self-reliant and figure it out, just like, what am I going to do to pay my bills or anything else? So brilliant to you. I love it.
Thank you. I'm trying. I really feel like I didn't have the best childhood and upbringing, so I feel like I've got a lot of my skills based on, my need to survive. So, not that I feel like I want to push that on my children by any means, but I feel like I need to at least make them ready for things to happen in the world that I can't control.
Yeah, and
Like,
don't
I can
sell
control
yourself
the house.
short. Don't sell yourself short. You're not just surviving. You're doing very well.
Well, thank you. I feel like we're definitely thriving, and I'm really excited to be able to meet new people through this podcast. And today has been very exciting to get to know you and to know about your business and what you do for other people. And you said
Thank
you're
you.
based out of Raleigh. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yep, Raleigh market. So
So
a
do you
couple
serve?
products. Yep. So a couple of my products are restricted to the local market. Other than that, I work anywhere. When I go off screen, I can go anywhere. I have clients in South Texas and over in Charlotte and all over the place. So, but
So
there's a
that's
couple
the
products
joy.
I just run locally.
So that's the joy of being like in marketing is that you can go, your reach is everywhere. It's not necessarily just localized.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I love the fact that I get to come at it from some unique angles. There's most of us are going to get several marketing calls a week from people wanting to help us solve our problems, but I do get the benefit of having things really that no one else does that I get to talk about. So that keeps it interesting for me.
It probably is really interesting to get to know other markets too. Like I'm sure, a small town in Texas is not going to be the same as a town here. And you have
No,
to kind of learn
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So, and yeah, what's the average income on that street or in that neighborhood, and what kind of customers are buying this service in that part of the world, and when? Everything is a new Rubik's cube every time you approach it. You know, and where
That's
is
got to be
this
exciting.
business owner at in his arc? It's not just about what they're trying to do. It's everything. It's all of it, and it makes every project unique. And I think that has to do with I don't want to be bored either. I want a new puzzle every chance I get.
So it sounds like some personality traits is problem solving and definitely being inquisitive is definitely good for marketing.
Oh yeah,
Getting to know
yeah,
people.
yeah. If you're just out there throwing out solutions, you don't know what you're solving. You know, you really
It
want
sounds
to
like
understand
relationship,
the people you're working with and what they're trying to do.
lots of
Sometimes the
relationship
best
building.
call is to say, I don't think this is the solution for you. We should look at something else. You know.
Do you have any stories that you want to share with people, either success or not success, about someone has called your company and what you
Yeah,
had to do for
yeah.
them?
So I think most people's frustrations with marketing is because there's no guarantees in any of it. It's a strategy. So it's like so just that as an underline means there's always going to be some level of surprise. So we've had clients where we're like, this is an experiment. We're running an experiment with this project with you. Just expect nothing to happen. We'll see though. We'll see what happens. And then they call and say, turn it off. I'm booked out 3 months. Turn it off. That's one story. Um, it surprised us. We're supposed to be the experts, and what the business was off category. So we ran in the experiment, and he through the roof. And then other times we think something's going to explode, and it just kind of does okay. And that's because of an unlimited number of variables that go into where, when, what was said, how, why, how the phone call was routed or how the website functioned. So it's not always just one or two things. It really is the customer journey from prospect to closed invoice is important, not when you're coming up with any plan or project. And that would be my advice to anyone. Don't just think about what you're doing for marketing. Think about your entire customer journey. And the other story I like to tell people is it's not so much a story, it's a concept. So when you're trying to identify your target customer, most almost 100% of people look at the customers they know. The 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 act of becoming a customer is a change. So when you're trying to target people that aren't yet your customer, you can't target the customer because that's after that change that happened. You don't know where they were, what they were thinking before they clicked, before they called, before they did something, before they got referred. So you don't want to target what you know, you want to target what you think they were 5 minutes before they became a customer. And that there really is a difference there when you consider that, because otherwise you're just remarketing if you're going after that what you know, and you're trying to broaden your market, capture more share. And I'm really getting into the weeds right now, but that's the thing. If you're a small entrepreneur and you're just getting started, you have to understand your current customer, but that doesn't necessarily define your next customer. And that has been one of the most invaluable things I've grown to understand in helping people look for their next customer. And I would make people try to work on that riddle. What do they look like before they become my customer? Because that's where you're going to find it.
That's true. Know your ideal client is the number one thing that I've learned, not only in entrepreneurship, but networking, and realizing that when I go to give my 30-second elevator pitch to anyone, I don't say the words anyone. I'm just looking for someone who. We don't say things like that. And so it took me a good deal to sit down and be like, all right, who is my ideal client? What do they look for? What is their lifestyle like? What kind of income do they have? Things of that nature, so that I can figure out exactly who. I think they call it like the funnel method, where you like funnel it down till you figure out exactly
Yeah,
who.
but even if they are that person, why do they want to be someone else, which is your customer? Is there a reason? And so many people forget that reason. you know Everyone
Yeah,
has to have a reason. Yeah,
that's true. And like one of my favorite motivational speakers, Simon Sinek, he always says people buy why you do it, they don't buy what you do.
that's right.
And I was like, that's perfect. And so whenever I go out there, I'm always, this is why I'm doing it. Cool, this is what I do. But you can only talk so much about cleaning and how exciting it is. It's not that exciting. I clean toilets and showers and sinks and kitchens. Cool. But I do it because I feel like you need to have a clean house, a clean space. I feel like your lifestyle permits this. I feel like you need to have somebody on your side, a support system, essentially. And that's kind of what I feel like I am.
Yeah, and you're the reason they feel better when they come home. It's not even necessarily the clean house, because the clean house makes them feel better. And that's probably what you sell more than anything, that feeling.
It's true. We sell lots of dopamine. I got you. It's true, though. So tell everybody where they can find you on Facebook and your website.
Yeah, so City Publications of Raleigh is going to pull me up. citypubrdu.com takes you to my website. You can see some of my fantastic clients there. My phone number and Facebook link is there and everything. Mostly on Facebook, I'm just meeting people like you. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, come be on my podcast. That's basically my experience on Facebook. And then once a week or so, there'll be a picture of my kid, because they impress me. And I'm constantly bragging about that. But
as you should be.
yeah, no, City Publications of Raleigh. So we're kind of a national brand, but I'm the Raleigh guy. So any networking or one-on-ones or referrals, I'm all about it. This is my third meeting today.
Oh wow, and it's only going on lunchtime.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm with you on the 8 a.m. is when my phone starts going off. I have to travel to Raleigh to drop my kid off at school, but I'm, on the way home just trying to answer emails and stuff. And that was actually one thing, I'm just going to say this again real quick, is we talked about the burnout thing and hire. My whole thing is hire people to do the things that burn you out that you can't do, whether it's marketing, whether it's an admin assistant, whether it's a driver. Make sure that we are hiring so that we are not burning ourselves out and giving our best to our clients.
Strategic.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. I can't wait for the episode to drop and see how many more people connect with you. That's one of my favorite things about it, is being able to connect you with other people. It has nothing to do with myself. So.
Oh, come on now. We're going to get you some referrals.
Oh, for sure. Well, thank you very much for coming on, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you